Okay, I'm Morgan Davis. I'm a freshman in a computer science major.
I'm Tabria Barnes. I'm a freshman double major in political science and African American studies.
And we're going to have a debate on if we should raise minimum wage or keep it how it is or lower it. This is a debate podcast. Let's get into it.
I'm ready.
So, do you know the highest, lowest, or the minimum wage in America?
I believe the lowest is $7.25, which is the minimum wage of South Carolina. The highest minimum wage, I'm going to throw a guess, $15.
You're around the same point. It's $15.75. So you technically right. Do you think we should raise the wage or keep it the same? What is your opinion?
So my opinion is that we should actually keep the minimum wage the same. For a couple of reasons. I think that raising the minimum wage would, even though it has good intentions, would actually do the reverse opposite of good. It would actually cause harm because a lot of businesses don't want to raise the minimum wage, and so once they start raising the minimum wage, I think that they might cut staff, which means some people are out of a job, or they just might hire less people. Yeah.
But I feel that if they raise the minimum wage, it will boost more people to get jobs. But I do see your point. But I just think it should be raised so people can get more jobs, get more pay, and help people in poverty. Because people in poverty, they most likely couldn't live the minimum wage that it is right now, $7.25, because how inflation have gone up over the years. But do you think it can help poverty? Do you think it could help the people in poverty?
I think that in theory it could. Like I said, I think that a lot of businesses, companies would start just cutting people if the minimum wage was to be raised, just because of the mere fact that they don't want to, how do I say this? They don't want to spend any more profit on pay. So I think that by cutting staff, people are out of a job. So when people are out of a job, where do they go? So that might harm the job market a little bit, which you said that it would help poverty, but I think in my point of view, I don't think it would help it at a substantial rate.
Okay. Do you think that small businesses be required to pay the same minimum wage as the larger corporations?
No. Personally, I think that when it comes to the profit that a small business makes versus a corporation, especially if it's like a international corporation like McDonald's that has, well, we call them transnational, but corporations that have businesses all over the world, obviously they have a larger profit, so they I would say have more money to spend, but in a way they do because they have more profit. So a greater part of that profit can go to paying their workers over small businesses that they kind of depend on their community. If that makes sense.
I could understand your point, but I feel like small businesses, not saying they have to get paid the most amount, but I think they should be paid similar because they started their own business because either they can't get a minimum wage job or they can't, or the minimum job is too low. So I think starting small businesses could help people in poverty build up to like their family. It can help their family in poverty, themselves, children. But that is my opinion. We can go on to the next question. do you think it can, so you think it can help hurt the economy or it can help?
I think it might do more hurt than good. I think if companies do decide to cut staff because they don't want to pay their workers an increased minimum wage, that might create an imbalance in the economy just because, more people are out of jobs, so more people probably buy less, less consumerism, which, then those companies that cut their staff also don't have as many people buying their product. So I think it could hurt more than it can do good. Not saying that it wouldn't do any good, but I think the risk outweighs the benefit.
But in my opinion, I think if they give workers more pay, of course, the inflation of goods might rise a bit. But at least the people in poverty they will have more money to spend on. They will be able to spend it on the essentials they need, like transportation, gas, and like food, like hygiene necessities. And it could also help teenagers as well. It has been shown that there are more teenagers getting kicked out, or they might need a low-income job to pay for something they need. So I feel it could also help teenagers or just people in general who is struggling. But that is my point of view. So do you think, sorry, trying to find the one. So do you consider a minimum wage to be like livable wage so people will be stable enough to live on just minimum wage, or what is your opinion?
Do I think the minimum wage currently is a livable wage? I mean, obviously, given the price of things today, such as basic needs, $7.25. I guess you could say technically not a livable wage, but also the reality is that no company is only paying $7.25 unless you're a waitress. Where in our economy, waitresses rely on tips a lot, so that kind of supplements what they don't get. But I mean, I don't think anybody agrees that $7.25 an hour is enough to get by. However, I think the reality is that no company pays $7.25. People at least pay $8, $10, $12 an hour. That's my opinion. What's your opinion?
My opinion is, of course, like $7 an hour isn't livable wage. But I just think that it's most definitely not you're not able to be stable enough to afford gas, to afford food, necessity bills, and all the other ones, even with it being raised to only $8, $10. I think, in my opinion, that the livable wage should be probably $15 to $20 an hour. That could be probably a livable wage for one or two people. If they get paid probably once every 2 weeks, I feel like they would be able to have their own apartment, be able to have pocket money even after spending it on necessities. But that is my perspective on it. So do you think it can, do you think it can help? This is a difficult question. So do you think it can strengthen or weaken the middle class?
I think in theory it can, maybe. I also think, if the focus is creating a larger middle class, then maybe the emphasis should be on other ways to strengthen the middle class other than raising the minimum wage, like, providing more benefits or more bonuses, stuff like that. What about you?
I truly think that it can probably hurt the middle class, but they are like the middle class. They are okay on their own, but I think if the wages were more higher, it can help people like the middle class be more stable than they are right now. Me personally, I'm middle class, and my mom, she works every day, but still little things here and there she can't pay for. So I think it can really strengthen the middle class a lot. But I can see why you think it really. I can see your point of view, but me personally, I think it can really help the lower class, middle class, and probably the higher class. Probably the higher. And we come down to the last few questions. So do you think minimum wage can encourage or discourage hard work and career growth?
I think that it could possibly do both.
Okay. It could do both. Can you explain that?
Like, I think that it could encourage people to want to seek jobs more because they're getting paid more. At the same time, I think that there's this idea of, like if everybody's getting paid like the same amount of money, or everybody's getting paid an increased wage, then who would want to, make themselves competitive for jobs, basically. What's your opinion?
I honestly think that if they would get paid more, people will be more willing to, kind of similar to your thing, but they will be more coming to, like they want to work more hours, which can also help them and the company. And it could also, I truly don't think it can discourage the career growth, but I think it actually strengthens the career growth because the person is more willing to work without having to force themselves to work. They,
Yeah, I understand.
But we are actually coming down to the last one. We're kind of coming this quick. So, do you think raising the minimum wage could create more opportunities or limit them?
This is a tough question because I can see both sides in a sense. I can see where it would create more opportunities for people to apply themselves. At the same time, I'm in the belief that it could also decrease opportunities because businesses might not want to businesses might not want to increase, or they might not want to keep their work within that specific community, that town, that city, that state, and they might lease it out to foreign workers or workers out of the country who they can pay less. I think that's one of the biggest things that can decrease the opportunities that some people will have, in state or within the country. But what's your opinion on that?
I truly think that it can give you more opportunities because there's so many jobs that, well, right now there are many jobs, especially in the science field, that is paying their workers way more, especially in the technology field, that can help people get more money. And so increasing minimum wage can more so build more community with
like other businesses.
yeah, with other businesses, and it's really it really helps the overall community. Like if we just up the minimum wage 22%. But that was the last question. I'm really thankful that you came
Of course, yeah.
debate with me. It was really well. It was really well. But thank you, and thank you all for watching. Thank you all. I had a good time, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.